Hello YouTube world, welcome back to the shop again. I want to do a little project for you this week. It's a bit of an experiment really. I've not done this before, so I'd be interested to see how it works out. About two months ago, something like that, lovely piece of yew. It's going to be a nice bowl about 12 inches diameter, and when I started getting into it I had a bar conclusion running right the way through the middle of it. I packed a load of super glue in there to try and hold it together, and but I give up on it in the end, because I had, if you watch any of my videos, I had one recently called an epic fail, and I had a piece explode on me, and or it seems to explode on you, and I don't really want to go through that again. So I put it to one side, very disappointingly, because it did promise to be quite a nice yew bowl. Two things happened quite close together. My wife said to me, because she pays quite keen interest in what I do, and she said, what happened to that nice yew bowl that you were doing? And I explained to her, and she said, well, why don't you just fill it with resin? And I couldn't really, because of the shape of the bowl, because it was, I'd already started cutting it and it was curved like that, I couldn't see how I could get resin in both sides that were slanted like that and on the top piece at the same time, without putting a huge rake mould around it and filling all of that up with resin, which would be, for me, prohibitively expensive. The other thing that happened at about the same time, I was watching a video on YouTube, a black Irish guy by the name of Woodturner, and he used some of this, and it's called farmer's tape, and he used that to block resin. And now I've tried stuff, duct tape, parcel tape, sellotape, all sorts of stuff, and resin always leaks out, but he swears by this. He reckons it's brilliant. Did a video, you want to check out his channel because he does do some pretty good stuff on there. He swears by this, so I'm going to give it a go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get, and with my Dremel, and I'm going to dig all that bark inclusion out and just see what we've got left. So, as usual, sit tight, see how I get on. As you can see, this is bowl, so around 12 inches, and you can see the two bark inclusions running right the way through. Sometimes when it gets tipped to light, you can see up where I poured a load of super glue in there. I wish I'd had the idea of filling it with resin before I did that, because it did make it quite hard. So I'm just going in with my Dremel with a burr, saber burr on there, quite a thin one. I think it's only about 4 mil, something like that. And what I'm trying to do is take as much of that bark inclusion out as I possibly can. What I don't want to do is pour resin in there and it be attached to bark, because I know the bark and the wood will part company. So I want to take as much of that bark out as I can, get right the way back to bare wood. So just what I need to do is just go through there now and take that down. So I've never done this before, so it is a bit of an experiment, and I'm not really sure what I should be doing, but at this point, I think what I want to do is go down as deep as I possibly can and possibly make that as wide as I possibly can. So let me see, I'm just going through now, working backwards and forwards, just taking it all out. There was 2 bark inclusions, there's one underneath my hand. It's quite a big, I don't know what you call it, a divot that needed to be filled with resin as well. So just carry on doing some more of the same. Just get rid of as much of that bark as I possibly can. I've just turned the tenon on, took some of that wood away, turned the tenon down on there so that when it's finished I can remount it in the lathe quite easily. Well, I've taped up the 4 vertical slots, so I should be able to pour the resin in and that should run down through. I have to say that farmer's tape does grip that wood. The only way that I can really describe it is like very wide insulating tape really. So I'm just getting to pouring the resin. I went for a red in the end, like a strawberry red, So I'm just going to mix this up and just pour it in and hope that it runs down through the sides and that tape holds it all in place. I've only knocked up a very small amount. Very gently pour that in. Now I did make a bit of a mistake here in so much as when I turned that tenon on the back, I started to turn the bottom of the bowl and I put a rim on it and then hollowed it towards the tenon, and as you can see there, all of that resin is running down and is starting to pool around my tenon. So I should have kept that perfectly flat across the bottom, and I didn't. Right, let's just hope that's all run down in there. Well, YouTubers, let's go for the unwrap. It's not been a great success, as you can see by the amount of resin that's all over my workbench. You see on there, there's a lot of resin on there, there's a lot of seepage, although it has filled that up. Just that tiny little bit on there. So what I'm going to start with, just clean this bottom up. Very good, I'm pleased with that. Nice shape, nice rim on there, nice and smooth. So I'll just get in to sand that down. I'll get back to you when I'm ready to put the sand and sealer on. That's all sanded down to 320, a lovely shine on there. Beautiful finish. And then we'll just go for some sand and sealer. Shed on there. Yeah, just move the camera over slightly so you haven't got that shadow on there. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And now for the wax. And just buff that up. Beautiful. Right, let's turn that around and hollow it. So now I've got to hollowing the bowl. As my regular viewers know, I do enjoy this bit. I was approached this with some trepidation. I had no idea how strong that resin was going to hold, or whether these two halves of this bowl were going to come flying apart. So I did take it quite gently. Took some light cuts, made sure my tools were sharp all the time so there wasn't too much pressure being put on the bowl, and just gradually worked my way down through and just gradually hollowed the middle out. can see on there now that bark inclusion running right the way through there, and just see the start of resin that's come through there. And there's resin and that piece there, you can see. I've never done this before. Fingers crossed that resin holds it together. Still got an awful lot to come out of the bottom of there. Hope that stays together, because that's going to be such a beautiful bowl. Sharpen that up, I'll get some lovely shavings coming off of there. I've sanded the whole of that inside down to 320 around the edges, but I need to go around and sand all that by hand. That's a really sharp edge all around there. So I've got a piece of 180 sandpaper and I've just got to work my way around. Lovely. Now to apply some sand sealer. Watch this bowl really come alive. And that look beautiful. I'll apply sand and sealer and wax to that edge, but I'll have to buff all that up by hand. And now some wax. And polish that. I have to be really careful now. I can only go out about a third of that rim or the upstand. If I go any further than that, that's going to bite me. Beautiful shine come on that already. So I put my mop in Jacob's chuck and I'm just going to go around and polish the edges of those bowls, place like that I couldn't reach before. Nice good shine. There we go, YouTube world. Another finished project. That has gone extremely well. I thought I'd lost that piece of yew. And as I said at the beginning, just two events happened almost simultaneously that made me start thinking about it. Now there was a big bark inclusion running through there, you can see. There's another big bark inclusion running through there. And you can see they come right the way through on the inside, both of them. Now I don't know how strong that resin join is. I have left that bottom quite thick. I suppose really what I should do is get a piece and just test it to destruction, just see how thin I can go with it, how well it does hold. But at the moment this seems to be really good. Maybe I should have carried on down through there until I hit the resin on the other side. I did go quite deep with it, and there are a few places that I have hit it. But I'll tell you what, isn't that a beautiful piece of wood? That is well worth saving. It's worth taking the risk. I love that. I said it before, but that's another keeper. Don't know what I'm going to do with them all. But there we go. Hope you enjoyed the project half as much as I did, because I've had some really good fun doing that. It's just something a bit different, and it's had a very good ending to it. So I've really enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed watching it, and I'll see you all again next week. You look after yourself and take care. Bye bye.